We had a little bit of a late start because of going late registration. I think most students are registered by now. For those of you that are wondering, I'm getting various questions about this. That students are asking about distance mode. Introduction to Law for Accountants is not offered on distance mode. All students are registered either full-time or part-time. If you're in this class, if you attend this lecture, if you're on the group, you should be registered for part-time mode. There are, however, a goodly number of students that do live in Windhoek, that live in the regions. In order to also make it possible for them to see, all classes are offered online. So no face-to-face classes for the subject. Everything is on. During the times as indicated on your class timetable, you can talk about the Tuesday 8 o'clock class. I hate it at Tuesday 8. By 8 o'clock, we're ready to just switch off for the day and spend time with our families, and but we can decide about that as we go along. All classes are recording. I'm recording already. I've already started the recording. When I finished my reading, when I finished class, not always immediately, sometimes get a bit busy, but I download the recording of the class and I upload it on my YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel where anybody can download and listen to my lectures. These are not YouTube videos, it's literally just the recording of the class as it's made on Teams. Once I've uploaded, I will share the link to the YouTube video on the class. If you want to find my videos, you can search my channel on YouTube, Mariette Hanekom Nast Law Lectures, and you will find my things. Even for this that I made last year, they are all still there, or even listen to of the old lectures. Then with regard to, I will make this announcement again, closer to the, but I just want to mention it now. Test one is face-to-face. It is scheduled Tuesday, the 24th of March, during official class time. So there can be no excuses about clashes. It is literally when you are supposed to have class that the test is. I've specifically done it that way. I separate full-time and part-time. I set different tests. So you can write during class time. Could you please keep your microphones muted so that we don't have background noise unless you specifically want to ask me a question? Please feel free to raise your hand and ask a question, or to me and ask a question. Otherwise, if you're not directly talking to me, keep your mic muted, please. Yes, Ms. Hambody?
Hi, ma'am. I don't know if it's just my phone, but then it seems like you're cutting. I don't know if anyone is experiencing that so far. Like the network.
Okay, let's find out from the other people. Am I cutting out? Miss Snap? Am I cutting out?
Yes, ma'am, yeah, by my side as well.
Okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to log out. Do not leave class. Stay in class. Uh, let me try it this way. Okay, I've taken my headphones off. Is that better now? Because I was also getting feedback. Ms. McNabb, Solomon, please speak up. Can you hear my cutting out?
I think it's a little bit better now.
Okay. I'm having problems with my sound. Try that again. You hear me or am I cutting out?
Afternoon, we can hear a bit better, but now it's echoing.
So on your side? Okay, I'm going to leave class and in. Please stay in the Can you hear me now? I'm back. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Is
Yes,
it better?
Yes, ma'am. It sounds much more better.
Okay, it's this cloudy weather. It's messing with my Wi-Fi, so I'm hotspotting from my phone now. Okay, where was I? I was saying about the test. The test is in class time on a Tuesday, from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. But because I am aware that and the test is available in Windhoek and at all the regional centers. But because I am aware that there are students who do not live close to a regional center, so they still have to travel to go and write at the center. There will be an optional test opportunity, a different test covering the same work, on that Saturday morning, Saturday the 28th of March. It's the first day of recess, but it's the only time I could fit it in. You don't have to write then, you can write Thursday evening, but if you have to travel and having to travel back to wherever you live, late Thursday night is inconvenient for you, there is an opportunity for you to write on Saturday morning. Somebody's got his hand raised. Loki?
Good evening, ma'am. Sorry, I joined a bit late. Can you maybe advise on the date for the test?
It's in the course outline. These dates are in the course outline. It is on Tuesday, the 24th of March during your class time. But if you live in the regions and you have to travel to a regional center, there will be a test available on the Saturday morning, but only at the regional centers. If you live in Windhoek, you must write on Tuesday. There's no test available for the Windhoek students also on Saturday. It's just for the sake of the distance students that sometimes have to travel quite some distance to get to the regional centers. But okay, let's get started with the work. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, just give me a thumbs up quickly if you can see the screen. It's literally a blank page that has introduction to law typed on it. Is that a question or confirmation that you can see the screen? Mr. Esterhuizen? Oh, thumbs up. Your hand is also raised. Do you have a question? Okay, maybe he raised his hand to say, okay, fine. So let's get started. Just on a point of order, while I teach, I am typing on the blank screen. I'm focusing, I've got the window with a screen open in front of me, not my window with a Teams class. So I can't see if you've raised your hand. If you have any questions, just speak up, switch on your mic, speak up, and interrupt me. Don't let the question, if you ask immediately, please. So unit 1, Unit 1 is an introductory unit. It's quite a long unit, but we are only doing very limited parts of it. You will see I have shared on e-learning together with the course outline, a document that I've prepared for the first semester, essentially for my co-lecturers to make sure that we teach the students the same things. And there I have stipulated what you need to know from Unit 1. So the first issue that we look at, just because this course is called Introduction to Law for Accountants, and you need to know what is law, what is this thing that we are studying. So let's give somebody an opportunity just quickly. What do you think? Somebody switch on their microphones and tell me, what do you think? What is law?
Regulate people.
Mr. Olivier says the purpose of law is to regulate people. He is very, very close to correct. That is the purpose,
Order.
to keep peace and order.
It's a formal system of rules, regulations, and principles enforced either by a government or social institution.
Oh, slow down. That's fine. I've heard you. Formal system of, I'm abbreviating here now, rules enforced
Regulations,
by the
principles.
government.
Yes, or institutions. To control
Okay.
behavior, maintain order, and resolve disputes.
Oops, not to control behavior.
Yeah, maintain order and resolve disputes.
Okay. All of those answers that I got are absolutely correct. There isn't one fixed definition of what is law. Different dictionaries, different books, different notes will give you different definitions of law. Everything that has been said here is encapsulated in the definitions. The definitions that that I use in our notes. If I can quickly find it here, it's on page 3 of the notes. It's a system of rules governing human relations. In a community, which are recognized legal system and enforced by the courts of law as organs of the state. Authority. That is the definition that we have in the notes. If you look here at what I've written, essentially everything that you said is contained in here. It governs human relations. It keeps peace and order. It controls behavior. It maintains order. It resolves dispute. The important bit, because there are many rules that act to maintain order, to govern relations in a specific community. And within our wonderful country of Namibia, we have many different communities. So we need to differentiate between law and norms of behavior. Our unique cultural group that we come from, every group has its own norms of behavior that you are taught by your parents as you grow up. But they differ from between different communities. If I can just make a judgment here now based on the photographs, the icons that I have in front of me. Armstrong, your hand is raised. Do you have a question? Okay, she isn't reacting now. Just to illustrate, just looking at faces in front of me, if I take myself, I was raised as a white Afrikaner. Then I look at Roland that I can see in front of me, Roland Hausep, that's Damaranama. And I have Vicky Ngipandwa, that sounds to me Oshivambu, correct me if I'm wrong, forgive me if I'm wrong. Hembeleleni Heimbodi, Oshivambu. We all come from our, and then Lazario Olifi. We all come from our unique cultural backgrounds that come with rules. But these cultural rules are not always the same across the country and cannot always be enforced by way of legal consequences. Let's use a silly example. In many communities, if you married, it is expected of you to be faithful to your wife and not have a side chick. Whereas there are many other groups worldwide, and in South Africa it's actually been legalized, where it is legal to have more than one wife. In Namibia, if you're married and you get yourself a side chick, you cannot go to jail for that. Your wife can divorce you, she can make you maybe claim money from you, whatever, but you cannot go to jail. That's the difference between norms of behavior and law. What distinguishes law from our norms of behavior is this bit. The fact that it is recognized by the legal system across the whole country, and it is enforced by courts of law. That is what distinguishes law from norms of behavior. But the reaction that I got, it seems you all have a very good understanding. Now, moving on to something that you might not particularly know, but it is important that you understand this before we go ahead. I'm jumping to page 4. Law can be divided into various categories. There's a lot of classified into very many different categories. We don't do them in detail in your course, but something you do need to understand is the distinction between criminal law and civil law. Now, there are various differences between criminal law and civil law. I'm going to put them in a table here. Okay, this wasn't what I wanted to do.
Let's go. We're going to declare the cause of action.
Okay, somebody's got.
When they're classified.
Please mute your mics. Please mute your mic.
What? To specific individuals. When we bring in the civil case, we are saying maximum amount in terms of anything we declare.
Please keep your mics muted, people. We don't want an interruption like that in the background. Okay, so the difference between, I'm struggling with putting up the table there, it's not working, but never mind. Difference between criminal law.
Extent is normally
Ma'am can continue with the class.
Okay, sorry. So we're busy looking at the difference between criminal law and civil law. Criminal law concerns the relationship between the government and its subjects. And concerns the government's authority.
Can you guys hear? I think MEM's network is not good that side. So there are intervals where she disappears.
Have you got problems hearing me?
Yeah, I think now it's okay, ma'am, because there's a pause now and then
Okay,
we
but
hear you.
yeah, okay, but sometimes I'm typing, then I'm not actually talking.
Okay, now I can hear you. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay, I was typing, so maybe that's why it was quiet. Apologies for that. You will still get used to my way of teaching. We're looking at criminal law and the difference between criminal law and civil law. Civil law, so criminal law concerns the government and its subjects, the enforcement of the law. If somebody violates public order, somebody violates public order, it is seen as a crime, and the government will step in and enforce punishment. Civil law, so that is criminal law. Civil law, on the other hand, doesn't concern the government, although the government can be a party to a civil case as well. But civil law is between two individuals. That is when, for example, let's make a silly example here. If I have sold my car to Fanny and I deliver the car to her, but it ends up that the car is broken and she wants her money back, I'm not going to go to jail for selling her a car that is defective. I won't be punished by the government. It's got nothing to do with the government. It is a matter between me and Fanny, which means it's a civil case. If, however, I am walking in the street at night and I take a brick and I hit Lazario over the head, I will be punished. You might say, but it's between me and Lazario. It is, but it also concerns everybody else because people can't go around walking around hitting people over the head with bricks. So that is the difference between criminal law and civil law. There are some other differences as well. In criminal law, it is always the state that prosecutes. So it is the state versus the accused. In civil law, there is no punishment, but in some instances, somebody can claim compensation, get your money back, be paid for damages. In civil law, we have a plaintiff versus a defendant. The burden of proof varies. Burden of proof, that means who must prove what. In criminal law, the state must prove the case beyond reasonable doubt. So there must be no doubt in the mind of the judge that the defendant, the accused, is guilty. In civil law, the plaintiff must prove his or her case on a balance of probabilities. So essentially, it's likely that this happened, but it doesn't have to be beyond all reasonable doubt. The last difference in criminal law, the state decides whether to continue. So if I beat Lazario over the head with a brick and I'm charged with assault, even if he subsequently forgives me and says, well, he doesn't want the case to continue, it's not up to him to decide. The state decides whether to prosecute or not. Whereas in civil law, the plaintiff can decide to withdraw or continue. Now, what you must understand, and that is why we did this difference, in Introduction to Law for Accountants, what we are studying is civil law. We do not deal with criminal law in this case. We are doing the law of contracts and various types of contracts. And nowhere in this course am I going to be teaching you something that if you do it, you can go to jail or not go to jail. So, Introduction to Law for Accountants is based on civil law. I know I'm going quick, but there are just certain parts from Unit 1 that we have to do. Paragraph 3 is basic legal concepts. It's basically legal terminology. I'm not going to take you through a list of words. Have a look at paragraph 3. If and when these legal concepts arise in the rest of the work, and it's a legal term that you need to understand, I will explain it to you. But I'm not going to sit here tonight working through a list of words. And then the last part of Unit 1 that we have to do, we also don't do in detail. Sources of law. Where does our law come from? I also don't do that part in detail, but there are two sources of law that you have to be aware of. Firstly, our legal system is based on common law. To be specific, Roman Dutch common law. So it comes from many, many years ago, from the Roman Empire that conquered the Dutch, and their legal systems got amalgamated. And then the Dutch settled in the southern tip of southern Africa and brought the legal system with them. And from there, it moved upwards. In the time, it got intermingled with some English law and some German law, etc. That is the originating. The originating that is where our law comes from originally. But obviously, times change, legal requirements become different, and common law no longer addresses everything that needs to be addressed. So we also have legislation. Legislation, also known as Acts of Parliament, or as statutes or statutory law. Legislation is our most important source of law. So these are the laws that are made by your representatives in Parliament that you voted for in the last general election. There are various other sources of law as well, but the two important ones I wanted to point out to you, Roman Dutch common law, Roman Dutch common law, and legislation, acts of Parliament. And now the important thing you need to understand for the purpose of this course is that law of contracts is based on common law. So in this course, we are not studying acts of parliament. We are studying common law principles that have obviously been adapted and changed to still be relevant in 2026, and they actually are. Contracts are a common law concept. Next semester, when you've passed Introduction to Law for Accountants, we will be studying company law. Company law is statutory law. There is a Companies Act, and we study the Companies Act in some detail. But for this semester, we are doing civil law, specifically common law. Any questions so far? Any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Great. So that is just a little bit of background. Unit 1's just some aspects of Unit 1. Those are the only things of Unit 1 that you need to know. You don't have to study Unit 1 in detail. Then we move on to the real nitty-gritty work. Namely, the law of contracts. This is the first part of the work that we do in this course. We study the basic principles of the law of contracts. Once we're done with that, we move on to having a closer look at some specific contracts, like the contract of purchase and sale, lease agreements, partnerships, etc., etc. So, what is a contract? Let me ask you quickly, who entered into a contract today?
I did.
Ms. Hambodi, what contract did you enter into?
Starting with the taxi that I got in today when I paid, and also when I went in the shops, when I exchanged my goods for the money that I had to pay.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. You recognized it perfectly. Most people, not so much my part-time students, because most of you are older, you're already employed, you've got some knowledge of the world. That's why I prefer teaching part-time classes and not school leavers. If I'm going to be asking a class of school leavers, did you enter into a contract today? They're going to stare at me in horror. No, they didn't enter into a contract today. I'm pretty sure most of you entered into a contract today without even particularly realizing or recognizing that this is a contract that you are entering into. The law of contracts is incredibly important because our whole life is regulated, in a manner of speaking, by contracts, even if we don't always realize it. A contract isn't necessarily a long legal document with big words signed by all the parties on all the pages. Yes, certain contracts are in that format, but when Ms. Hambodi got into the taxi today, she entered into a contract with the taxi driver. They didn't discuss it and say, can we enter into a contract? Taxi driver stopped when he saw her standing. She told him where she's going. He said yes. She got in. He took her there. When she got to her destination, she took the usual money out, the usual taxi fare out of her purse and handed it to him. That was a contract. They didn't have to put it in writing. Similarly, when she went into the shop to buy something, she probably didn't speak to the owner. She went, she got her loaf of bread from the shelf, walked to the cashier, put it down, took the money out of her purse or her card, swiped, paid. A contract, not in writing and signed by both of them, but by necessary implication. That contract, when she bought this loaf of bread, implies that if that bread was rotten and she gets food poisoning, she will have a claim against the shopkeeper because it's a contract. So, what is a contract? I'm going to copy and paste quickly from previous class that I taught today, so I can save a little bit of time in typing. A contract, and this is also just a working definition. When we looked at the definition of law, we saw that it can be flexible. It's not, these are the exact words that you have to memorize. Working definition of a contract is, it is an agreement between two or more parties with a serious intention of bringing about an obligation, with a serious intention to become legally bound. So it's important to distinguish then between social agreements, I don't want to say informal agreements, call them social agreements, because we just saw a contract can also be informal. It doesn't have to be in writing. But you have to distinguish between social agreements and contracts. What is the difference? If I invite Loida to coffee on Saturday morning, and I tell her I will meet her at 9 o'clock at wherever in the Grove, and she accepts my invitation, we have an agreement. So 9 o'clock, I go, and I'm waiting, and it's late at 10 o'clock, and it's by 10:30. I'm fed up, and I get up and I leave because she hasn't arrived. Is there anything I can do to Loida?
No.
No,
No.
there's nothing I can do. I can be angry. I can maybe badmouth her a little bit and tell all her friends, but she ditched me, she didn't pitch up, and be a bit nasty, but that's literally all I can do. I cannot take her to court. I cannot claim money from her. The distinction here can actually be compared here to what I said previously when I spoke about law and norms of behavior. Contracts are governed by law. Social agreements, norms of behavior. So what distinguishes a social agreement from a contract is this bit, that it was entered into with a serious intention of bringing about an obligation. Obligations, what are obligations? Obligations are rights and duties. From contracts, in a contract, when Miss Heimbody got into the taxi this morning, there were immediately rights and duties for both parties. She had the right to be transported to her destination safely. The taxi driver, because every rights and duties are flip sides of a coin, she had the right to be transported safely. The taxi driver had the duty to transport her safely. At the same time, the taxi driver had the right to be paid, and she had the duty to pay him. So even though they didn't exchange any words, those rights and duties automatically arose from the fact that the moment they entered into that agreement, an agreement with the intention to become legally bound. In order for these rights and duties to arise, the contract must be valid. If the contract is not valid, it is said to be invalid or void. If the contract is invalid or if it's void, there are no rights and duties. An invalid contract is a nothing. A void contract is a nothing. There's nothing enforceable that arises out of it. It is not enforceable. In order for a contract to be valid, there are 5 requirements that have to be met. There must be consensus. The parties must have contractual capacity. Performance must be possible. Performance must be legal. And if there are formalities, they have to be complied with. In general, as we learned now from Ms. Heimbody's examples, there are no formalities required. Contracts don't have to be in writing, but there are certain statutory provisions that require that contracts must be in writing. For example, if you buy a house, purchase and sale of immovable property has to be in writing and signed by the parties. But a contract can be just as valid and enforceable if it was entered into informally, orally, or even just by actions. And then we get something called voidable. Now be careful here. Voidable isn't somewhere between valid and void. A voidable contract, I'm going to ask you this in your first test. A voidable contract is a contract that is valid. All 5 these requirements have to have been met. Didn't specifically say this. There are 5 requirements. If one of them is not met, the contract is void. So doesn't matter if the other 4 have been met. One of them is missing, contract is void. A voidable contract is a contract that is valid. So it meets all 5 the requirements. But something is wrong with one of the requirements, which means it can be set aside. Let's give an example here. Let's say I sell my car to who wants to buy my car? Let's say I sell my car to Lloyda for $300,000. And I tell her that my car is in a perfect working condition. And because she believes that my car is in a perfect working condition, she agrees to buy the car for $300,000. That is a valid contract between us. Subsequently, once she's taken possession of the car, she realizes that, in fact, it is not in a perfect working condition at all. The engine makes funny sounds, etc., etc. She realizes that, in fact, I was lying to her. There is consensus. She agreed to buy the car. But because I obtained the consensus, I obtained her agreement in a wrongful manner by way of telling a lie. There's something wrong with it, which makes the contract voidable. So she can set it aside. But she doesn't have to. She has the choice. If the car is actually worth 500,000 and she got it for 300, and she decides, oh, I can have these noises sorted out, I can have it fixed, I still bought a bargain, the contract remains valid. So it's a valid contract, it remains valid. It doesn't magically disappear. It remains valid until the innocent party exercises their right in a reasonable time to set it aside. Is everybody with me?
Yes, miss.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so those are the 5 requirements. In the next unit, units 3 and 4, we look at these requirements in more detail. A type of question that you can expect in your tests as well as in the exam is something that I refer to as a structured application. Structured application, I'm just giving you, warning you of this in the meantime. I give you a scenario and I ask you, well, there's a difference. Once we've done purchase and sale and lease, it can get more complex. The section of the work of the syllabus dealing with contracts, I'll give you a scenario and I will ask you to indicate whether the contract and to motivate your answer. So the question is, I'm very much simplifying it now. It will be something like, Mbeleleni for, what does a loaf of bread cost these days? Around $12. That's a very simplified version now. Then you must tell me, is that contract valid or is it not valid? In that particular instance, I'm not actually giving you sufficient information to answer the question. It appears to be valid because obviously I'm pretty sure Mbeleleni is older than 18. So she's got contractual capacity. Buying bread is legal. It is possible to buy the bread, so performance is possible. There is an agreement about the bread and the price, so the contract is valid because all 5 of the requirements have been met. So your answer here will be, it is valid with a motivation Of course, that is a very, very simplified version. You can't really do it in detail yet because we haven't looked at these requirements in detail. But be prepared. You will definitely be getting, in your tests and your exams, you will be getting structured application questions. They normally count 2 marks each. I normally give you 5 scenarios, 2 marks each, so that's a 10-mark question. Do you have any questions? Okay, it is 20 to 8. We're supposed to carry on till 8 o'clock, but I think I've bombarded you with a lot of work today. I also don't want to throw too much at you at once, and then you end up just getting too confused. So I am going to stop here. I don't want to fall behind in terms of the course schedule. We're supposed to do units 1 up to end of 4, units 1 to 4 this week. We've now finished unit 2. I don't want to fall behind, so to make sure we keep up also with the part-time students and the schedule, I will be offering a class on Saturday morning. Attendance is entirely optional. Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, an online class. It would be lovely if you could make the time to attend, but if you've got other commitments on Saturday, it is not compulsory that you attend. It will be recorded if you cannot attend, and you can then listen to the recording at your own time. I think that's going to be better rather than rushing now. Let's rather do this slowly. I'll work in extra classes if and when I have to, but I want to make sure you all keep up with me and understand. Is that in order?
Yes, Miss.
Okay, so I'm going to say goodbye to you. Apologies for the battle with my connectivity beginning of this class. This weather is affecting my telecom Wi-Fi that I have at home. Thank you so much. I will then on Saturday at 10 o'clock, I will send you the link. If you can attend, it would be lovely. Otherwise, you could listen to the class then at your own time. Thank you. Bye.
Miss Anacom,
Yes.
just a minute if you would allow me after class.